Have you ever watched a loved one, someone who's always been so on top of things, start to slip, forgetting small but really important details? It's a journey so many of us go on. And honestly, it can be really unsettling. Let's talk about this through a story that might sound a little too familiar. So let's meet Mr. J. He was the kind of guy who would double check that the stove was off, always lock the doors, and kept a perfect list of every single bill right on the fridge. You know the type: responsible, predictable, and above all, safe. But lately, things have started to shift. Little things at first, just tiny slips in his usually perfect routine that started to create this quiet feeling of unease. Those predictable patterns were starting to unravel. And we're not just talking about simple memory lapses, like forgetting someone's name. No, this was different. The kettle would just whistle and whistle, a sound of alarm that was completely ignored. The front door, once his fortress, was found unlocked in the morning. And then, the one that really set off alarm bells, his car left running all by itself in the driveway. This all leads to a really crucial question for every single one of us. At what point does simple forgetfulness cross a line and become, well, dangerous? It's such a quiet shift, but it's one that has incredibly serious consequences. So let's actually explore that shift. When memory loss starts to mess with safety, we're not talking about normal aging anymore. We're moving into a whole new territory where harmless little slip-ups become genuine hazards. And this territory, it actually has a name: behavioral risk unawareness. And believe me, it's about so much more than just the frustrating but ultimately harmless act of losing your keys. This is something much deeper. So what is it exactly? Well, it's when a person just can't accurately see or respond to danger anymore. And here's the most important part: this is not a choice. It isn't carelessness. It's a fundamental change in how the brain itself processes risk. Let's just make this distinction crystal clear, okay? Normal forgetfulness is misplacing your keys. Risk unawareness is leaving the stove on. It's forgetting to take life-saving medication, or even worse, taking it twice. See the difference? One is an inconvenience, the other is a potential disaster. So what is happening in the brain to cause all this? To really get it, we've got to take a look inside the brain's own internal safety system and see how it starts to change. Think about it. Your brain is constantly running this complex risk assessment program in the background. But as we get older, especially in the frontal lobe and parietal cortex, that feedback loop can really slow down. The connection between "I left the stove on" and "oh, I need to turn it off now" gets delayed or sometimes completely lost. This also leads to something called confident denial, where the brain just fills in the memory gaps. It's why someone might insist with total confidence, "Of course I turned it off," because in their mind, they really truly believe they did. And this biological change can create a really tough psychological loop. Imagine this. A caregiver points out a mistake, but because of those brain changes we just talked about, the person might not even be aware they made it. So the correction feels unfair and it leads to shame or frustration. To avoid that awful feeling, they might just start avoiding the task altogether. And in a really strange way, forgetting becomes an escape, which only reinforces the whole cycle. So if pointing out the problem can actually make it worse, what are we supposed to do? Well, this is where we need a huge shift in our thinking. We have to move away from confrontation and move towards support. This quote from a study in behavioral gerontology it nails this new approach perfectly. When safety behavior becomes automatic through environmental design, independence can continue without confrontation or loss of dignity. This is the whole ballgame. We stop trying to fix the person, and instead we start redesigning their world to make safety effortless. So how on earth do we do that? Okay, let's walk through 5 really practical strategies. I want you to start thinking less like a caregiver who corrects and more like a designer who supports. All right, let's break these down. First up, visual masters. For Mr. J, this could be a simple done card he flips over after he takes his morning pills. It's a silent reminder that doesn't feel like someone is nagging him. Second, environmental cues. This is where technology can be a huge help. Like a stove that automatically shuts itself off after 15 minutes. The environment does the remembering for him. Third, positive reinforcement. Oh man, this one is huge. Instead of saying, "You forgot to lock the door again," try celebrating a win. "Hey, I saw you lock the door last night. That's fantastic." Fourth, reduce the load. Too many choices can be totally overwhelming. So maybe it's just laying out one outfit for the day instead of opening a closet full of options. And finally, collaborative planning. Instead of just installing a new tool,
Ask, hey, do you think this alarm on the front door would make us both feel a little safer? This creates a sense of teamwork, not resistance. You see, when we start applying these design principles, we unlock this powerful new way of looking at things. We can help someone stay independent not by fighting against their memory loss, but by building a supportive world around it. All of a sudden, forgetfulness isn't a failure that needs to be corrected. It's just feedback telling us where the design needs a little tweak.
So let's just recap the big takeaways here. Remember, risk on awareness is a change in the brain. It is not a character flaw. Our goal should be to change the environment, not the person. And by using gentle, thoughtful design, we can preserve both their safety and, just as importantly, their dignity. And I just want to leave you with this one final thought. We so often see a fading memory as the end of independence. But what if it isn't? What if, with the right support and the right design, independence doesn't have to vanish at all? What if it can just evolve?